Hello everyone, this is RV Frank, trying to figure out how to address this large bug scoop on the front of this motorhome. As we all know, we go down the road and pick up all kinds of bugs and perhaps rocks and other crap comes flying into the front of the motorhome. And what can I do to safeguard that from happening? By putting some sort of a screen in front of that radiator. I was thinking about putting something standing further off. The problem is it might interfere with trying to gain access to water, battery. And what I decided to do is build a simple framework that goes up here and up here. That's 29 inches outside dimension, and I have it rest right down there on that frame with a frame cross member coming across. Now it's probably just tie strap it in here. Anyway, we'll get started. Okay, here's the parts to that framework for the bug screen on the motorhome. And what I have is some 1/2 inch PVC. I'll go ahead and prime and paint that black. And the top there, and then the bottom there, and these T's will stand off on that frame, allowing the cabling, flex cabling on that frame to go underneath here, and then I'll go ahead and at the bottom go ahead and wire tie, put a tie around that to hold it in place. And I decided to go with this this basically, it's a vent screen as opposed to screen door. It's a very coarse screen. I don't want to restrict the airflow. I just want to keep the big bugs from sticking in those radiator fins. So unfortunately, this only comes in 8 inch width. So what I'll do is cut a few pieces and I wire tie those around the frame. Well, the bug screen frame has been cut to size. I decided to go with a 16 inch by 29 inch wide frame that will fit just under the air cleaner box and the cross member frame on the motorhome at the bottom. This will sit on that frame where there is some existing flex conduit on the motorhome. So I will apply some expanded sheeting. What they had at Lowe's was 12 by 24, so this is going to have to be cut. In this dimension, I have another piece over there. I'll cut that here, and then I'll leave probably about a 3-inch gap. So I'll trim some of this, and I'll go ahead and spot weld that together to make one sheet. And then I'll go ahead and apply that vent screen. It's a fiberglass. I think I'll apply that over the mesh. Now this mesh here, this expanded metal, will provide better protection for any flying debris on that condenser, which appeared to have that impact damage. So I'm going to go ahead and try to straighten out some of those fins on that condenser before I put this frame bug screen in front. This expanded metal, which is probably about a 32nd of an inch thick, is pretty robust, and it's gives me the openness that I'm looking for to avoid any airflow restriction. So I'll go ahead and trim this up, weld it, and so I'll be back. Well, I went ahead and cut that expanded metal to fit, welded in the sections that were remnants. So now I'm ready to lay in this vent screen across there like that, and I'll just wire tie that, tie strap it in there, and that gives a much stronger surface to protect that air conditioning condenser. Okay, I'm going to do a wind test to see what sort of restriction I get with that bug screen. Here's a shot of the string in its normal state. Now I'm going to move this in front of the fan and see what sort of movement I get. Comes out approximately 0.4 inches from nominal. Now I'm going to go ahead and put just the basic screen in place with this apparatus, giving me just the event screen. That's going to be placed down there like so. So with just the vent screen in place, I'm going to go ahead and bring that string down. Hopefully you can see it, and we'll see what sort of restriction I get. That string out at a 45. I would say, just from the feel, there might be a 5 to 10% decrease, but in terms of what it's doing to that string, I'm seeing about the same amount of deflection from the wind. So I'm going to go ahead now, with the bug screen in place, I'm going to bring that string down. There is some restriction. So it probably, by looking at the amount of deflection in that string, it might be 50% flow restriction with this grating. Now again, this is going to be right up against the condenser. So you're going to have the airspeed while driving that's going to blast right into that screen. How much restriction that's going to give in its application in front of that condenser, I don't know. Some, but there may be sufficient flow that I won't see a rise in the temperature. This whole setup here is easy to put in. So we'll test it, and on the next trip for distance, and monitor it, and we'll see, and I'll report back. Okay, over here at the motorhome, we'll go ahead and put that bug screen in. And I'm of the belief that with overall 25% wind restriction with that front end area where the condenser radiator is, shouldn't be a problem. Again, this is about a 50% of the overall frontal area of the radiator condenser, air conditioning condenser. I figure there was about a 50% restriction there in terms of that expanded metal. And when I put that in there, it's going to come up to about right here. So I still got a good deal of radiator here, plus there's below. So I got a feeling I'm not going to see much of an issue with regards to heating concern. Again, the forced air here on the road, I don't see it a problem. We'll keep an eye on it. But I do want to address some of these impact areas here. So I'll probably use this little tool here and work those fins open without puncturing any lines. And we'll go ahead and do that. Okay, well, you may not be able to tell it or not if you did a before and after shot. I went ahead and straightened as much of this out as I could. There's a couple impacts here that have just like beyond separating that material. This one here is so fine it's almost impossible to work on that. But I'll tell you that this material is aluminum foil, and I would suspect that these are bug impacts and not any kind of rock. Otherwise, I think a rock would probably go through that. This motorhome came off the assembly line, I think, at the end of July, 1st of August. I believe it's made in Indiana. So it probably came across the U.S. here to Southern California through a lot of bugs, I expect, and that's what caused those impacts. So I've improved the flow somewhat. Bug screen installed. Actually, radiator protection. The expanded metal is not going to let anything come through there, especially bugs. But you know, they've got the radiator. This looks like the I'm not sure. You got a radiator. You have some sort of a cooler here, and another radiator. Those either one could be the transmission oil cooler, but then there's another one down here. That to me looks like a transmission cooler. Again, this thing has so many radiators, I'll call them all, that the main one to protect, as far as I see it, is the one right through the grill here. Comes through and it blasts this thing, so that's going to give me the protection. And I'm no fluid dynamics engineer, but I would say that there's not going to be any less air being pushed through there. This motorhome is going to pick up a lot of air. It's going to push it right through there. Again, they've had no problems stacking up the condenser radiators there, so I'm sure that there's going to be enough airflow through there. Again, I'll watch it. If there's any input on this, I'd appreciate it. I'll give an update perhaps in another video, or make a comment down below after the trip. We're going to take a trip out to Arizona, South Arizona, and it should be warm enough there to test. I imagine that it's going to, if it's going to see some temperature, it's going to be while it's idling, as opposed to at speed. So anyway, that's my approach to protecting that radiator, keeping the bugs out of there. I suspect the bugs were creating that aluminum foil damage on those radiators. Anyway, hope you enjoy. Take care.
I want you to get up and walk like a duck.
Me?
Yes.
I always walk like a duck. What are you talking about? Do the duck walk.
Okay, Molly, let's do the duck walk.
Do the duck walk.